Hey guys, welcome back to Buzzer to Buzzer. All right, guys, so time has flown by, and the wild card weekend for the 2020 NFL season has officially elapsed. Although we did take a 2-week break off, guys, the 16th week of the 2020 NFL season did pass by, and the wild card games are set. And today we're going to be going over the 6 games, making our predictions, and let's see who comes on top. Without any further ado, let's get to it. All right, guys, so the first game we're going to be talking about is going to be the one happening on Sunday night, that being between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, guys, this is a matchup which has happened early on in the season as well. Our thoughts on this playoff matchup?
I think with this pick, it was gonna be a tough pick for me. But knowing that the Browns head coach and play caller is out, best offensive lineman is out, and starting safety is out, I think you have to go with the Steelers. They're a more experienced team. The Browns are obviously quite new to the playoffs, and having a lot of important pieces out doesn't bode well for them.
I know that the Browns definitely have some missing pieces, and that's gonna make their team a bit worse. But I feel like the Steelers have been very inconsistent this year. I mean, they lost 3 games in a row, and they lost again Week 16 to the Browns. So I know that at this time they don't have their head coach and play the call, like you said, Arian. But I still think that Baker Mayfield's going to do really well in the playoffs, and I think that they're going to surprise the Steelers this game.
I think a big reason why they lost that Week 17 matchup to the Browns is because Big Ben didn't play. He's going to be moving forward their signal caller and their play caller. And so when he's not in the game, I think they realize that this is kind of like a game to give their players rest before they play the Browns again next week. And that's what they did. And they're going to come out and beat them next week or this week.
Exactly. I love seeing the Baker Mayfield connection between him and his wide receivers right now. I got to go with the Steelers. That Week 17 matchup was quite the thriller, but I truly believe that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be back. The Steelers, they have been doubted, and time again, they had a heck of a season. These 4 losses, I don't think are representative of the whole season they've had. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be a very close game till the end, but the Steelers will slightly edge out. All right, guys, now moving on toward the second game, which we'll be predicting for this weekend, that being between the team which somehow, miraculously, we made it, the Chicago Bears against the New Orleans Saints. Now, guys, it's still crazy to think about, but the Chicago Bears are in the playoffs with the Cardinals losing that game. And we're going up against a Drew Brees-led Saints. Our thoughts on this matchup?
First of all, I was pretty surprised the Bears actually made the playoffs. But, in the playoffs, I feel like anything can happen. So there's no 100% guarantee that a team's going to win. But I'm going to have to go with the Saints. Their offense and defense is amazing right now. They're a very well-balanced team. I feel like Drew Brees is just, even though people say he's overrated, he's washed, he's old, he's not good this season, he still gets the job done when they need to. And with Michael Thomas back, Alvin Kamara playing out of his mind right now, I don't think that the Bears' defense and their offense will be enough to stop the Saints.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Avi on this one. The Saints probably have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and you look at the Bears. Their quarterback situation right now is one of the worst in the leagues, and their offense, against good teams hasn't played well, and so I think being away on the road, doesn't really help the Bears team. I think the Saints get this one.
I think when Alvin Kamara doesn't play, the Bears have a chance. But in the scenario that he does play, the game's basically over for the Bears. The Bears really don't have any answer for that type of run game. Their run stopping game has been very weak as of recent. And so if Alvin Kamara doesn't play, they have the larger chance, but it's still very small.
No. Chicago natives, and I still can't believe. You got to have some hope, guys, right here. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. And there's one reason why. It's because a team plays the best when they got chip on their shoulder. And right now, I'm looking at the Chicago Bears, and I truly believe that they're going to pull out. Khalil Mack last night came about in a press conference was saying, we've got a chip on our shoulder. People have been doubting us the whole season. But we're in this position. It's 0-0. 8-8, that doesn't matter. Playoffs, everybody's at 0-0. Nothing would happen in the regular season matters anymore. Right now, it's all about what's going to happen. And I'm looking at Mitchell Trubisky. This game is going to define his future career with the Chicago Bears. If he plays lights out, if he can somehow pull off a performance, this is going to ensure a long-term contract. You guys are laughing, making me laugh too, but don't you worry. The Bears are going to be proving you guys wrong, and I'm just blasphemized that you guys aren't going their side. All right, guys, now moving on towards the third game which we're predicting for this week, that being between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. Now, guys, the Titans and the Ravens are both at an 11-5 record. It's going to be a close game for sure. And we all know what happened last year between this matchup as well. But our thoughts, that's an upcoming game.
That this is going to be Lamar Jackson's revenge match against what happened last year, like you said, around. The Ravens had a bit of a mid-season crisis, I guess. They were doing pretty bad. They were losing a lot of games to teams that they should have easily beat. But towards the end of the season, they had a sort of a hot streak. They were winning many games against good teams. I think that's going to continue in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson was actually looking like a better passer towards that second half of the season. I know we were all saying all he could do is run, but he was actually improving his arm. It showed. It was definitely evident in his playing style and his game. So I think that even though that the Titans have King Henry, I think the Ravens defense can somewhat stop him.
I think, Lamar Jackson does have his revenge game for sure. He lost to the Titans last year in the playoffs, and he lost to them in the regular season this year. But, Tennessee's defense has really gotten worse, and they're one of the worst defenses in the league. They can't stop a single team from scoring every single drive. And I think Lamar Jackson capitalizes on that. And so I think Ravens defense will limit Derrick Henry a lot more than they have in the past, and that should allow the Ravens to win this game.
The narrative throughout most of the season was that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens were figured out. And so what do you do when you're figured out? You find a new way to win. And since Lamar Jackson got tested positive for COVID, they've sort of came out with a new play action sort of heavy offense, and it's been working for them. They've been beating a lot of teams with their play action, and I think going forward, Lamar throwing the ball more is definitely going to help him.
It's a scary thought to think about. Last year the Titans were 9-7, 10-8, something of that sort, and they came down and beat the Ravens, a 14-2 team. But this year, I also got to believe that Lamar Jackson can get his revenge. This is the game. The Ravens, all of a sudden, they were going down, and all of a sudden, back on their peak, leading the NFL in scoring differential as well. Lamar Jackson, just when everybody thought that he was figured out, like Harshie said, he's proven out, coming back and bouncing back even harder. I feel like this game is going to be a close game for sure, but the Ravens will edge out. All right, guys, now moving on towards the fourth game, which we'll be predicting for this wild card weekend, that being between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team. That is correct, the Washington football team, a 7-9 team coming out from the NFC East. Crazy to think about, but yes, they are in the playoffs. Our thoughts on this upcoming matchup?
I think a lot of people expect this game to be a complete blowout win by the Bucs, but I really don't think it's going to be that way. The Bucs' Achilles heel all season has been pressure by the D line. And we know that Washington has one of the best D-lines in the league with Chase Young and Montez Sweat and those guys up front. However, with that said, though, I do expect the Bucs to win this game because of Tom Brady, but I don't think it will be the blowout that everyone expects.
Yeah, for sure. Like Aryan said, the Washington football team is very underrated when it comes to their team as a whole. I feel like even though they're in the NFC East and it's a bad division, I still think that they deserve that spot. They're still a pretty good team. But the Bucs have been on a pretty hot streak recently too. I feel like Tom Brady is kind of going back to his old ways, finding every open receiver. Even Antonio Brown has been doing well these past games. And when a receiver like that who hasn't been doing well at all this whole season is doing good, Tom Brady's kind of doing great right now, and I think the Bucs are definitely going to win this one.
I think Bruce Arians said it best. They're not playing the 7-9 football team; they're playing the 4-1. Alex Smith football team, and that speaks a lot to their quarterback situation. Dwayne Haskins and whoever else they had kind of caused them to lose a lot of games, and Alex Smith has been better than their other quarterbacks, and they've been winning games with him. So would I be surprised if the Buccaneers lost this game? Not really, but it's still very improbable for the Washington football team to beat them.
I also got to go with the Buccaneers here. But one thing for sure, got to give a lot of credit to this Washington football team. It's sort of been a Cinderella story this whole season. Ron Rivera having that battle with cancer, Alex Smith coming back somehow from that gruesome injury to lead this team to 4-1 these past couple games. And Chase Young, last week yelling out, "I want Tom Brady." It's just going to show how much respect he has for Tom, and he can't believe that he was playing such a veteran quarterback to go, for some people as well. I'm excited for this matchup, and although I know the Bucs will most likely win, it's going to be a great game to watch. All right, guys, now moving on towards the game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, guys, I know we all saw what the Seahawks could do last year in the playoffs, but I'm going to get started off with B. Your thoughts for your team's success?
The Seahawks and Rams have played each other twice in the regular season. They're 1-1 right now. So it's definitely going to be a close game. But I think that the Seahawks are going to win. And as long as, their O-line can do good against Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, I think that as long as they don't provide a crazy amount of pressure on Russell Wilson, we should be fine. Which they probably will, but they did it last game too, and we won that. So it's definitely gonna be a close game. I definitely can't guarantee that the Seahawks are gonna win, but I really do think that they're gonna win this one.
No, for Los Angeles to win this game, their defense gonna really have to step up, especially with Jared Goff. His throwing hand is injured, and obviously we saw what the Rams looked like last week without Jared Goff. However, I do think Russell Wilson in the offense does get going, especially taking advantage of Jared Goff's injury. And I do think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win this game.
Yeah, for me, this game comes down to Jared Goff's thumb injury. QBs usually don't fare well their first few weeks back from a thumb injury. We know very well with Jay Cutler, but him having that injury makes it a significant detriment to already what an important offense that Rams offense is to their success. The Seahawks have a weak defense, so you have to play good offensively to beat them. And with Jared Goff hurt, it's kind of hard for the Rams to do that.
They say sometimes examining history is the best way of predicting the future, right? And I'm looking back last year, DK Metcalf, absolute going crazy. He broke the NFL receiving record for a rookie in the playoffs last year. And I feel like this year I got high expectations for him. Despite whatever the last couple of weeks have been, last year he was a phenomenal monster, and this year expect nothing less. DK Metcalf's been torching the league up, one of the best sophomore wide receivers out there. And this year in the playoffs, he's about to make that a fact. All right, guys, and now moving towards the final matchup, which we'll be predicting for this week, that being between the Indianapolis Colts and the Buffalo Bills. Now, guys, the Bills are sitting at a 13-3 record in the AFC, potentially one of the only teams which can give the Chiefs a run for their money, but they're going against an 11-5 Colts. Our thoughts on this upcoming game?
I sit here in front of Lucas Oil Stadium, but I have to pick against the Colts. The Buffalo Bills, they're just a different team. They've been winning games by a lot. They've been destroying every team on every facet of the game, offense and defense. And that's not a hit on the Colts. It's just the Bills are a better team, and they should win this game.
Yeah, Josh Allen has been eating this year. He's in the MVP race for sure. Stephon Diggs, most receiving yards in the league, and that offense is rolling. And I think they averaged like 42 points a game in his last 3 games. So I don't expect nothing. I expect nothing less. I think they're going to continue to feast, and Bills should take this one.
Yeah, like you said, Rayon, when you're introducing them, I think that the only team in the AFC that can give Chiefs a run for their money right now is the Bills. So I definitely have to pick up the Bills right now. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the Colts are a great team, great defense. Philip Rivers has been he's been doing pretty good the second half of the season. But the Bills, that offense is lethal right now. Stephon Diggs, people are talking about, him being a top 3 wide receiver in the league right now, this season. And I could totally see that argument. And Josh Allen, like Arian said, he could be in the MVP race. I think he is right now. And he's playing out of his mind too. So the Bills are definitely on this one.
Exactly. Not much more to say. You guys pretty much covered it. The Buffalo Bills been torching the league up. This season they've been pretty phenomenal. 13-3. Josh Allen at the beginning of the season was the foremost front runner. Although it's changed a bit, he's still in that conversation. The Colts, sure, they got Philip Rivers, but I'm expecting that duo between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs to torch it up, and the Bills will pull off with a large margin. All right, guys, well, those are our picks for this upcoming wildcard weekend. As always, guys, be sure to like button, subscribe, and comment down below your picks for this upcoming week as well. Guys, take care. Catch you guys on the next one. See you guys.